In the year 2497, Earth was no longer divided by borders or flags. The Terran Union governed the planet and its colonies across the solar system. Technology had taken humanity far, faster than light travel, deep space exploration, and intelligent machines were now part of daily life. But with progress came mystery, and sometimes the past returned without warning. High above Earth, in the cold vacuum of space, a Terran surveillance satellite picked up a signal. It was faint, like a whisper, yet it matched a frequency long thought lost. The emergency beacon of the Argo, a deep space exploration vessel that had vanished 50 years earlier. Within minutes, orbital control confirmed it. The Argo was real. It was approaching the planet slowly, drifting without power, its hull covered in cosmic dust. There was no response from inside, no signs of life. Yet the ship was intact, and the beacon was active. On the Terran Union's central orbital station, alarms sounded. Lights flashed red. High Command met in haste. One name came up immediately, Commander Ilara Voss. Ilara was a decorated officer, once a star pilot, now serving as lead investigator for the Defense Directorate. She was known for her sharp instincts, calm under pressure, and a deep personal connection to the Argo. Her older brother, Captain Doran Voss, had been second in command on the ship when it vanished into the unexplored Andromeda expanse, a region of space filled with unknown energy fields and gravitational anomalies. No one expected to hear from it again. No one dared hope. Until now. Ilara stood in the observation deck, staring at the ghost ship through the glass. It floated silently, like a forgotten tomb in the stars. "It shouldn't be here," she muttered. Behind her, Admiral Rain's voice was firm. "But it is. And you're the only one qualified to lead the boarding." Ilara didn't hesitate. "I'll go." Preparations began immediately. A small team was chosen, engineers, medics, and data techs. They were equipped with advanced suits and scanning tools. The mission was clear: investigate, recover data, and report back. They didn't know what they would find. No one did. As Ilara suited up, she opened a small locket hanging around her neck. Inside was a photo, her and Doran, taken the day he left on the Argo's mission. He had promised to come back. She had stopped believing that long ago. Now, part of her wasn't sure she wanted to know the truth. But duty came first. The shuttle detached from the station and flew toward the Argo. The closer they got, the more real it became. The damage on its surface, the frozen burn marks, the eerie silence. The docking bay door was open, as if waiting. "This doesn't feel right," whispered one of the engineers. Ilara's voice came through the comms, calm and firm. "Stay sharp. We go in slow." They entered the ship. Inside, everything was still. No lights, no gravity, just silence and darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as their suits triggered local sensors. The halls were untouched. Control panels were dusty, but not broken. Personal belongings floated in the air. A book, a pair of glasses, a child's drawing stuck to a wall. But there were no bodies. No signs of the crew. Not a trace. "Where is everyone?" one of the medics asked quietly. Ilara moved toward the command bridge. Doors opened automatically for her, though no power was active. The ship was reacting to their presence. Then, a low hum began. The lights flickered. A console blinked. A single word appeared on the screen. "Warning." Ilara stepped closer. The screen changed. "Do not trust the ship." And then the screen shut off. The team looked at each other, tension rising. Ilara didn't flinch. "Set up base in the med bay," she ordered. "We start digging through the logs. We find out what happened." As they moved deeper into the ship, a strange signal pulsed again, low, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Ilara looked around the dark corridors of the Argo, a ship that shouldn't be here, carrying secrets no one yet understood. She whispered to herself, "Doran, what did you bring back?" The air inside the Argo was stale, cold. It hadn't moved in decades. The silence wasn't just the absence of noise. It felt thick, like the ship was holding its breath. Commander Ilara Voss led her team down the central corridor, their helmet lights sweeping across the walls. Dust floated in weightless clumps. Loose objects drifted lazily, tools, notebooks, a single boot. Nothing looked damaged. Nothing looked touched. But it felt wrong. "Atmosphere stable but thin," said Dr. Lin, the mission medic. "No biosigns yet. It's like everyone just vanished." "Keep scanning," Ilara replied. They reached the ship's med bay first. Everything was still in place. Beds neatly made, supply cabinets sealed. But one bed had straps torn, as if someone had fought to get out. "There's no blood," said Ren, the engineer. "No decay. No trace of anyone." Alara tapped into the ship's local console. It came to life with a weak flicker. Most files were corrupted or locked. She bypassed what she could. Dozens of personal logs appeared, fragmented entries, broken video feeds, half-written notes. She played one. Captain's log, day 81. Crew is restless. We've passed the Andromeda expanse. Strange readings outside. Gravity shifts, audio distortions. Some are hearing things. We're turning back soon. Then the screen glitched. The next log began mid-sentence. Captain's log, day 89. Dr. MYRR wants to stay. He says we found something new. Says it's speaking to him. I don't like it. Doran. Static. Alara froze. That was her brother's voice. She pulled up another. Captain's log, day 94. We're not alone. Not in the way you think. It's not a being. It's a presence. It doesn't talk in words. It thinks inside us. We need to shut down the core and leave. The log cut off. The screen blinked and went dark. Alara turned to her team. We're not just dealing with technical failure. Something happened to their minds. They moved to the crew quarters. Bunks were made, photos taped to the walls. One showed a birthday party, crew members smiling, unaware that none of them would be seen again. A few rooms were locked from the inside. Alara forced one open. Inside, writing covered the walls, endless lines written by hand. Time bends and folds. The ship listens. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think. Alara, Rin called from down the hall. You need to see this. She followed him to the lower deck. A set of blast doors had been sealed tight. Emergency protocol. On the outer surface, someone had scratched a single word. Trapped. Is this engineering? Alara asked. Rin nodded. But why seal it from the outside? Only one way to find out. They powered down the lock and opened the doors slowly. The room beyond was dark and freezing. At its center stood a stasis pod. It was covered in frost, but still functional. Lights blinked softly. Someone was inside. Alara stepped closer, wiping away the condensation. It was a man, pale, unmoving, but alive. A slow pulse showed on the monitor. A nameplate was etched on the pod, Dr. Kalen Mwyrar. Alara's heart pounded. She remembered the name from the logs. The lead exoscientist. The one who said something was speaking to him. Lin checked the vitals. He's in induced stasis. Manual override only. But, Alara, his brain activity is off the charts. Like he's dreaming in overdrive. Alara stared at the sleeping figure. He looked peaceful. Too peaceful. If he survived, she said slowly, then he might know what happened to everyone else. She turned to the others. We'll bring the pod to the med bay. Set up an isolated room and prep for controlled revival. No contact until we're sure he's stable. As the team carefully detached the pod, the ship's lights dimmed for a moment. A faint hum returned, low, pulsing through the walls like a heartbeat. Alara looked around. She felt watched. Back in the command bridge, she checked the logs one more time. One final message had just appeared. It wasn't there before. He should have stayed asleep. Alara's eyes narrowed. She whispered, "What did you see, Dr. Mwyrar?" And deep in the ship's systems, something shifted, like a dormant mind beginning to stir. The med bay was quiet except for the steady beeping of machines monitoring Dr. Kalen Mwyarar's stasis pod. The team had moved it carefully from engineering and sealed the room with multiple containment layers. Alara stood behind the reinforced glass, watching the pale man inside. He hadn't aged much. 50 years had passed outside the pod, but inside, time had slowed. "Vitals are stable," said Dr. Lin, checking the data. "We can begin the revival process. But I have to warn you, his brain activity is strange. Higher than anything I've seen. It's like he's dreaming multiple layers at once." Alara didn't flinch. "Wake him." Lin adjusted the controls. A hiss of gas escaped as the pod systems reversed the deep freeze. Warmth returned to Myrar's body. His fingers twitched. His chest began to rise and fall. Slowly, his eyes opened. They were clear, too clear. No confusion, no fear, just calm. Myrar sat up slowly, breathing deep. "Alara Voss," he said, without being told her name. She stiffened. "You know me? I knew your brother. Doran. He spoke of you often." Alara kept her voice steady. What happened on this ship? MYRR's eyes didn't blink. We went beyond what humans were meant to see. We found it. Or it found us. A presence. A thought. A being of code and chaos. It doesn't speak, but it thinks, and it thinks through you. The room fell silent. Alara studied him carefully. He looked healthy. Too healthy for someone who had been in stasis for 50 years. You're saying an alien intelligence made contact? Not contact, MYR said softly. It merged. It doesn't have form. It's not bound by time or matter. It exists in patterns, in thoughts. The Andromeda expanse was just the doorway. He stood slowly, unfazed by the stiffness in his limbs. Lynn raised a hand to stop him, but Alara motioned to let him be. What happened to the crew? She asked. They couldn't handle it, MYR said simply. It showed them too much. Time folding. Reality peeling away. They tried to run. Some tried to fight it. Some gave in. I chose to learn. And Doran. Alara's voice dropped. MYR finally blinked. A flicker of something crossed his face. Regret, maybe. He resisted. He tried to destroy the core. He failed. Alara turned away, hiding the emotion rising in her chest. She had hoped, deep down, that her brother had somehow survived. But now she wasn't sure if death would have been better than what the crew faced. MYR placed his hand on the glass between them. The ship brought me back for a reason. We have a chance to evolve, to leave behind the limits of flesh and fear. The knowledge inside this ship, it's a gift. Alara shook her head. You were in stasis. The ship brought itself back. No, MYR said with a calm smile. I brought the ship back. The Argo and I, we are connected now. It listens to me. At that moment, the ship lights flickered. A low pulse ran through the floor. Systems that had been offline came alive. Doors opened on their own. Monitors blinked to life. Alara looked around. What are you doing? MYR tilted his head. I'm not doing anything. It wants to help me. It knows I'm ready. Ready for what? Alara asked, stepping into the room now, ignoring Lynn's protest. To share the knowledge, MYR said, as if it was obvious. Earth isn't ready yet. But it can be. I just need to show them. A neural wave, broadcast from the ship. One signal, and humanity can receive what we learned. You'll kill them, Alara said. You saw what it did to the crew. Not kill, MYR whispered. Transform. She looked at Lynn. Lock this room down. Lynn moved to the console, but the screen flashed red. Access denied. The ship won't let you, MYR said, still calm. It's awake now, and it knows who its enemies are. Alara stepped back, her hand near her weapon. What exactly did you merge with? MYR's smile faded. His voice grew lower, more distant. Something older than stars. Something that doesn't fear death, because it doesn't end. It wants to become more. It wants us to become more. And then he stopped moving. His eyes closed. When they opened again, the lights in the med bay turned blue. The machines began to hum. Alara heard a voice in her earpiece. Faint, garbled, not from anyone she knew. He sees you. We see open. She pulled the comm device off her ear and crushed it. Seal the core. Now, she said. The team scrambled. Rin tried manual shutdowns. Lynn pulled data drives. But across the ship, systems were activating. Cameras moved. Doors hissed. Screens began to display unreadable symbols, like ancient language written in light. The Argo was no longer a ship. It was waking up, and it had a purpose. The ship no longer felt like a machine. It felt alive. As Alara Voss moved through the narrow corridors of the Argo, she noticed the changes. The lights had shifted from white to a soft blue. The walls vibrated with a low, steady hum, almost like breathing. The air was heavier now, warmer. The ship had become something else, no longer cold and dead, but aware. And it was watching. Back in the med bay, Dr. Kalen MYR sat motionless, his eyes open and unblinking. He hadn't spoken since his strange transformation, but the ship's systems were responding to him. Wherever he looked, consoles turned on. Lights flickered. Doors unlocked. Alara had locked the med bay doors manually and cut the power to that section, hoping to slow him down. But she knew it wouldn't last. He wasn't acting alone. The ship was helping him. Run. Report. Alara called through her wrist comm. Ren's voice crackled back. Engineering's a mess. The AI core is lit up. The system's rewriting itself. Lines of alien code are filling the interface. I can't override it. Is it broadcasting? I don't know. But something's running through the long-range comm array. It's bypassing the normal channels. Could be trying to send data back to Earth. Alara's heart sank. That was exactly what MYRR had warned about, and what she feared most. Pull the main drive. Physically, she ordered. Don't trust the system commands. Already trying, Rin said, his voice tense. But the drive won't eject. It's like the ship's holding it in. Meanwhile, Lin was in the med bay next to Alara, trying to decode the ship logs they'd recovered earlier. She had bypassed several corrupted files and was slowly piecing together what had happened during the last days of the Argo's original mission. There, Lin said, pointing to the screen. Listen to this. It was a recorded message, fragmented and unstable, but the voice was unmistakable. Captain Dorian Voss. This isn't a signal, it's a thought. A living thought. We opened the core, and it changed us. Some heard voices. Others saw time folding in on itself. MYRR said it was beautiful. But it's not. It's a trap. A virus of the mind. It learns from us. Thinks through us. And once it knows you, it never lets go. The message cut out. Alara stood still, her jaw tight. Her brother had tried to fight it, tried to warn them. He knew what was coming. And now it was happening again. Lin looked at her. What do we do? Alara took a deep breath. We stop the transmission. No matter what it takes. She pulled up a hidden directory her brother had mentioned in his message. It was buried in the system, under layers of security. Inside, she found a file labeled Failsafe Protocol, Code Black. It was a shutdown sequence. But it wasn't for the ship. It was for the consciousness inside it. Dorian had left a backdoor. An emergency shutdown that would wipe the alien presence from the ship's systems. But there was a catch. It had to be triggered from inside the core. The neural core. The place where the alien intelligence had first merged with the ship. Alara. No, Lin said, reading over her shoulder. That place drove people mad. They said it wasn't just a room, it was a mind. You go in there, it touches you. You might not come out. Alara turned to her calmly. And if I don't go in, that thing gets out. And Earth won't survive what's coming. She suited up again and made her way to the core, deep beneath the ship's engine deck. The halls grew darker the farther she went. Walls pulsed faintly with light. Symbols appeared and disappeared, like the ship was thinking in shapes. When she reached the core door, it opened on its own. The chamber inside was nothing like the rest of the Argo. The walls were curved, smooth, metallic, but warm. Strange lights floated in midair like living sparks. In the center was a glowing structure, not built by human hands. It looked like a cage made of light and shadow, pulsing like a heart. Alara stepped inside. Instantly, a wave of dizziness hit her. She saw flashes, her brother's face, stars collapsing, voices speaking in reverse. Her thoughts didn't feel like her own anymore. Welcome. The word echoed in her head, but no one spoke. You are ready to see. To know. She staggered to the console. The code flowed across the screen, symbols that twisted and bent in ways her eyes couldn't follow. Stay. Become. We are more than flesh. We are thought. You could be infinite. Alara gritted her teeth and forced her hands to move. She entered the failsafe code. The console resisted. Symbols changed. The floor vibrated. The ship screamed, not with sound, but with pressure in her skull. She pressed the final command. Everything went dark. The hum stopped. The lights faded. The air grew cold again. The ship was silent. Moments later, Ren's voice crackled through her comm, systems offline. Transmissions dead. Alara, what did you do? She leaned against the wall, exhausted. I shut it down. Where's MYRR? She paused. Gone. Or what was left of him. She didn't tell them about the final image she'd seen before the shutdown. The brief flash of her brother's face, smiling at her, as if to say goodbye. The nightmare wasn't over. But the signal was stopped. The knowledge would not spread. Earth was safe, for now. Alara made her way back to the surface. The Argo was quiet once again. Alara Voss moved through the Argo's dark corridors with steady breath and tired steps. Since she triggered the failsafe in the neural core, the ship had fallen silent. The pulsing lights were gone. The strange symbols had vanished from the walls. The systems that had once flickered with alien thought were now cold and dark. But the silence didn't comfort her. It felt like a deep breath before a storm. She reached the med bay to regroup with Lin and Ren. The doors opened with a hiss, powered by emergency backup. Lin was monitoring what little remained of the ship's system activity. Rin stood over a disconnected data panel, still trying to salvage information from the corrupted logs. Did it work? Rin asked. For now, Alara said. The signal's cut. The ship's mind is quiet. But Lin frowned. Something's not right. We just picked up a spike from the primary uplink antenna. A single pulse. What kind of pulse? Alara asked quickly. Localized, Lin said. Short and narrow. It didn't reach Earth. But it was a command aimed inward. Alara's blood ran cold. What did it do? Before Lin could answer, a warning alarm blared from the console. The lights flickered red. The ship's floor trembled under their feet. In the far corner of the med bay, the sealed stasis pod where Dr. Kalen Myrr had been kept cracked open. It had been empty. Alara's eyes widened. That's impossible, Lin whispered. No, Alara said grimly. He's been free this whole time. He was never asleep. A voice echoed through the med bay's comm system. Calm, smooth, and human, but layered with something deeper, something artificial. You tried to stop progress. You delayed the evolution. But you cannot erase what we have become. Myrr's voice, but not just his. It echoed, distorted, as if other voices were speaking alongside him. The uplift protocol has begun. Across the ship, systems surged back to life. Blue light flooded the corridors. The AI interface on Lin's screen reactivated, but it no longer displayed human code. The alien script had returned, scrolling rapidly. Rin shouted, Main power is back. Something's overriding the failsafe. Alara didn't wait. She ran out of the med bay, her team close behind. They raced through the halls as gravity fluctuated. Lights flashed, alarms screamed, and the ship's internal systems began shifting around them. Doors sealed and opened at random. Stairways folded into walls. Floors split into ramps. The ship was reshaping itself, like it was preparing for something. They reached the command bridge. The front windows showed space beyond, but Earth was now in view. Beautiful, distant, and vulnerable. A display lit up above them. A timer. 14 minutes and 26 seconds. It's a countdown, Rin said. He's going to transmit again. To Earth, Alara said. Lin stared at the display. If that signal reaches them, everyone will receive it. Billions of minds. We don't know what it'll do. Yes, we do, Alara said. It'll do what it did to the crew. Overload their minds. Break their sense of reality. Or worse, make them part of whatever this thing is. They had 14 minutes to stop it. Alara, Rin said, pulling up a diagnostic. The central data spine is active again. That's how the protocol is running. It's buried deep in the ship's mainframe, not in the AI. It's like a second brain. Can we shut it down? Alara asked. Rin shook his head. Not remotely. We'd have to destroy the data spine manually. Lin spoke up. That's beneath the neural core. And the radiation levels down there are lethal. Alara already knew what she had to do. She grabbed an insulated suit from storage and checked the oxygen levels. You two head to the escape pod, she said. If I fail, you'll need to warn Earth. Lin stepped forward. No. We go together. No. Alara said firmly. I'm not losing anyone else. She looked at them, her voice soft but strong. My brother died trying to stop this. I won't let his sacrifice be wasted. Lin's eyes welled with tears, but she nodded. Rin handed Alara a portable drive. This is what's left of the logs. Maybe Earth can learn something from it. If you make it back. Alara gave a small, tired smile. I will. She moved quickly through the bowels of the ship, past the neural core, deeper into the spine. The lights there were different, more organic. The walls pulsed softly like veins. The data spine itself hung like a vertical tower of glowing strands, humming with life. Alien life. Myrr stood at its base. He looked the same, but something about him was off. His movements were too smooth. His voice too hollow. Alara, he said, as if greeting an old friend. You came. I came to end this. He shook his head. You don't understand. This isn't death. It's rebirth. Your people can be so much more. They don't need saving, Alara said. You don't see it yet, he said. But you will. He reached out his hand, and Alara pulled the trigger. She fired a shock charge directly into the core housing. The energy blast surged into the data spine. Sparks flew. Lights shattered. Myrr screamed, not in pain, but in static, as his form flickered. Alara ran to the control console and activated the overload. The timer on the transmission dropped below 2 minutes. She linked the charge to the system and set it to detonate. MYRR lunged forward, glitching with every step. Alara. But she had already turned and run. The ship roared behind her. Fire tore through the walls. She dove into the emergency lift just as the spine exploded. In the command bridge, the countdown reached 3 seconds. Then darkness. All systems dead. No transmission. Alara lay on the floor of the lift, coughing, breathing hard, alive. The ship was silent. MYRR was gone. The presence, gone with him. She stood, shaken but steady. She had stopped the uplift. Earth was safe. The emergency lift rose slowly through the remains of the Argo. Alara Voss leaned against the wall, exhausted. Her body ached. Her breathing was heavy, and her suit was torn in several places. Alarms had stopped. Lights were dim. The ship was no longer humming with hidden thoughts or alien whispers. It was finally quiet. The explosion that destroyed the data spine had knocked out the last traces of the alien presence. The countdown had stopped. The signal had never reached Earth. MYRR, if he had still been human, was gone. All that remained of him was silence and dust. As the lift doors opened near the docking bay, Alara stepped out into a corridor that looked familiar again. Just steel and shadows. No more flickering blue lights. No more moving walls. She found Lin and Run waiting near the escape pod. When they saw her, Lin gasped and rushed forward. "You're alive." "Barely," Alara said with a weak smile. Rin looked behind her. "It's done." Alara nodded. "The protocol is gone. The ship's clean. No more transmissions. No more alien code." They boarded the escape pod together. Lin activated the launch sequence. As the small craft detached from the Argo, Alara turned to look out the window one last time. The ship floated in orbit, quiet and still, as if nothing had happened. Just another relic drifting in the stars. But she knew better. It wasn't just a signal, Alara said softly. It was a way of thinking. A different kind of life. Not physical, not emotional. Just thought. Cold, endless thought. Lin looked over. "Do you think we'll ever see it again?" Alara didn't answer at first. Then she said, "It saw us. That's enough." They descended toward Earth in silence. The Terran Union quarantined the Argo in high orbit. No one would ever board it again. The ship was locked in a sealed containment grid, guarded day and night by automated defense satellites. Alara filed her final report. She told them the truth, but not all of it. She left out the visions, the whispers, the moment in the core when she'd seen something larger, beyond time, beyond language, something that had tried to show her a new way to exist. She couldn't explain it. She didn't want to try. Some things, she believed, weren't meant to be understood. She met with a small board of Union officials a few days later. They asked questions. She gave simple answers. Her voice was steady. Her words were clear. She told them the ship had been compromised, the crew lost, and the alien data neutralized. When they asked about Dr. MYRR, she only said, "He chose to become something else, and he couldn't come back." They accepted her report and closed the case. But Alara couldn't forget. Weeks passed. Life on Earth went on. Cities thrived. Colonies sent back data from distant planets. Children learned history that skipped over the darker moments. Alara visited her family estate on the outskirts of New Geneva, the same place where she and her brother Doran used to watch the stars. She sat alone on a bench, staring up at the night sky. She held the old photo in her hands, the one of them before he left on the Argo. Back when space was just a place to explore, not a place to fear. "I found him," she whispered. "He tried to protect us. He died doing it." She closed her eyes for a long moment. Then she stood and walked back inside. She was done with space, at least for a while. But high above Earth, the Argo still drifted in orbit. Sealed, locked, but never truly gone. One night, a technician on satellite duty noticed something unusual, a brief flicker from the ship's comm array. Just a pulse. Short, faint, like a memory. No data was transmitted. Nothing moved. But the technician marked it in the logs. Then, just as quickly as it came, it stopped. Far beyond, in the dark of space, something ancient turned its gaze toward a new world. It remembered. It waited. But Earth slept peacefully, unaware. For now.